The Young Sheldon finale wraps up Sheldon's childhood in Texas and sheds light on the future of the Big Bang Theory franchise with Georgie and Mandy's spin-off. The Coopers struggle with George's death in different ways, while the finale ties up loose narratives and explores how they cope with grief. Adult Sheldon works on his memoir in the far future. He is still with Amy, and together they have at least 2 kids. The rest of the Pasadena gang is absent from the prequel's send-off, but the Young Sheldon finale reestablishes their friendship. The Young Sheldon finale ends Sheldon's childhood in Texas, but it also includes new revelations about the future of the Big Bang Theory franchise. After 7 years, Sheldon and the Coopers' collective story wraps up with an emotional last hour. On the heels of George's death in Young Sheldon Season 7, Episode 12, A New Home and a Traditional Texas Torture, his family is left to deal with the aftermath of the unexpected loss during the first half of the send-off. Young Sheldon's finale half hour, on the other hand, is devoted to tying as many loose narratives as possible. When The Big Bang Theory ended in 2019, it was also still very popular, but it ended because Jim Parsons already wanted to leave. Things are different for Young Sheldon, however, since the main cast has been vocal about wanting to continue doing the spin-off, but the established canon forces it to wrap up. It came a long way from being primarily known as a spin-off to becoming TV's #1 comedy. As such, there is pressure to deliver a satisfying Young Sheldon swan song. Since it also ends in a significantly shorter year, the back-to-back episodes are packed with storylines. Losing a family member is always difficult. George's death was dreaded for so long, but Young Sheldon Season 7 made it so much more difficult, considering the trajectory of his and the Coopers' lives before he passed away. Unsurprisingly, the Coopers struggle in the aftermath of George's death, as it shows how each of them copes with their grief. Mary functions on autopilot, Mima starts drinking more, while Georgie takes care of everything that he can. Sheldon remains clueless on how to process his grief and regret, while Missy lashes out. Young Sheldon bids George goodbye in his emotional funeral service. Adult Sheldon admits his regrets over George's death. As spoiled by the Young Sheldon Season 7, Episode 13 title, the finale features the funeral service for George. Almost every single prominent guest star on the show attends the service, which includes an open casket viewing of him. Missy, Georgie, and Mary say goodbye to him before it gets closed, but Sheldon remains stunned. He refuses to look at him and even makes a speech, although, in the flash-forward sequence, Jim Parsons Sheldon admits that he regrets not saying goodbye to George properly. Mary breaks down during her tribute, however, prompting Mima to rescue her and continue it. Sheldon works on his memoir in the Young Sheldon finale flash-forward. The Young Sheldon confirms why Sheldon has been revisiting his childhood. Adult Sheldon's scene in the Young Sheldon finale confirms a long-standing theory about why he is recalling the events of his childhood. Since its inception, the socially inept genius has been narrating some of the bigger events of years in Medford, Texas. As insinuated by the Young Sheldon Season 7, Episode 14 title, Memoir, Sheldon has been working on his memoir. It's unclear, however, if it's an official project that will be published, or if it's purely for his personal use. Mary holds on to her faith after George's death. Mima begs the twins to help Mary process her grief. While Mary sinks herself into her religion, she becomes more adamant about forcing the same mindset on her kids. She coerces Sheldon and Missy to get baptized in an attempt to save their souls. As expected, both decline, which makes their mom more distraught than when George died. Due to an earnest plea, Mima convinces the twins, but Missy backs out at the last second, triggered by Pastor Jeff's platitude about her dad's death. But Sheldon continues it because he wants to do it for his mom. Sheldon and Amy has moved out of the Big Bang Theory's apartment. Sheldon's office has a lot of the Big Bang Theory memorabilia. The Young Sheldon finale offers some much-needed post-The Big Bang Theory updates, including Sheldon and Amy moving out of their apartment for B-Unit. Penny's old single flat was too small to have an extra room for an office, not to mention for a family of at least 4 people. Per the send-off, the couple lives in a craftsman bungalow in the future but remains in the Pasadena area. Interestingly, however, there are a lot of items from Apartment 4A in their home, such as the couch and the atomic structure. Mandy learns about Georgie's first love. Sheldon and Missy bring up Veronica and her similarities to Mandy. Before Mandy came into his life in Young Sheldon Season 5, Georgie dated several girls, but he had a special connection with Veronica, who was essentially his first love. Now that he's married, the topic of who she was is brought up during the family's last dinner scene in the prequel when Sheldon and Missy discuss her existence. Mandy is more intrigued than jealous, however, especially when the twins mention that Veronica looks just like her. It's curious if this is a subtle setup for Veronica's return in Georgie and Mandy's first marriage after just disappearing in Young Sheldon. Despite hopes that the Young Sheldon finale can double as a The Big Bang Theory reunion, that doesn't happen. No one else from the Pasadena gang appears in the prequel's send-off other than adult Sheldon and Amy. That said, Young Sheldon has also established that the couple is still good friends with Howard, and by extension, Bernadette, as well as Penny and Leonard. Although, since they moved, it isn't as easy to hang out with their friends anymore. Raj is the only The Big Bang Theory character who hasn't been accounted for in Young Sheldon. After Young Sheldon, Georgie and Mandy's story will continue via Georgie and Mandy's first marriage. Despite the format change, it's essentially a sequel series. This means that Mary, Missy, and Meemaw can appear in the offshoot at any time. While the chances of them being series regulars are slim to none, the Young Sheldon finale leaving all their arcs open-ended effectively mandates them to return in the new series. Granted that they all appeared in The Big Bang Theory, all three were already significantly different by then. The writers need to properly wrap up their Young Sheldon arcs.